Good evening, you stalwart students, and welcome to the very last class of this cycle of Discovering Buddhism. For those of you who started, Joanna's last class. And for those of you who started back in October 2014, I salute you. And for those of you who started later, you can catch up on anything you missed. And also, if you missed classes along the way or you just want to come back and revisit topics, we're going to start the whole cycle again, it being cyclic existence at DB. And we'll start September 12th with the module Mind and Its Potential. Robbie will teach it, right? Yeah. And so, and I won't be here, but Joan Lacey, who's been in the class, she's not here right now, and Erin Sloan will be the DB coordinator, so they'll be doing what I've been doing, and they're both a whole lot of fun, so I think they'll make it a great class. So come back in September, beginning of September, if you need to catch up or revisit anything. You're more than welcome to just keep coming. Oh, and if you have signed completion cards from any of your modules that you want to get a completion certificate for, which you will need if you're going for the overall, the mega DB completion certificate. You'll need one of these for each module you've completed. I can help you with those tonight if you've done all the work but you just need a signature. You can talk to Robbie or Don and we'll get those for you. That's it. Oh, and Don has a surprise for you tonight.
Hello? Yeah. Okay. So, one of the first meditations, we didn't do it much after that, but the whole point was to bring the mind to a point of one-pointedness, but also Tantra. In Tantra, we try to utilize a blissful awareness, and so we practice with this. So this is kind of a skillful means that Lama Yeshe would teach some of his beginning Western students who, doubt were dubious about what was possible with the mind. But this meditation, it's not going to be. I don't have Sangi Kadro's book here, but I'm just going to simplify it make it very simple. And Geshe talked a little bit about this yesterday, but I'm not going to do it just like he did. I want you to, what you want to do is you want to breathe in. You can take a couple of deep breaths, in and out, in and out. And then you're going to have a deep breath, and you're going to hold your breath and swallow. And as you swallow, you're going to feel the diaphragm pressing down. And then you're going to pull the energy, tighten basically a Kegel exercise. You tighten the muscles of the pelvic floor, and you create a little compression there. It's kind of like the shape of a vase. They call it vase breathing. So we're bringing the energy right here, coming from above down and from below up, and sort of meets at the navel. And you just hold your breath, and then when you focus your mind at the level of your navel, and then when it becomes uncomfortable, you can relax. But as you do this, most people do experience some sort of blissful energy that you can create with your mind by doing this vase breathing. And it definitely, you'll notice when the mind feels some kind of blissful energy, it's not easily distracted. So do that on your own for about 10 breaths, and I'll ring the bell when it's just time to stop. Now just let your mind relax in whatever your experience is. And before we do the prayers, I'm going to touch on the 3 principles of the path, because they're, that's the doorway, the gateway to the Vajrayana. These most, in some ways, secretive, maybe even most difficult teachings, meditation practices in all Buddhism. It takes many causes to come together to create, to actually be able to meet a tantric master, have an interest in Tantra, faith in Tantra, Buddhist refuge, the willingness to keep the vows and the commitments, to do the practice, to get the benefit of it. So many cooperative causes have to come together for someone to actually do this practice. And, for many of us, we might go, wow, this is beyond me, but I really want to aspire to be able to practice at that level at some point in the future, maybe if not in this life, some future life. And I think that's if we leave the class even with that aspiration, I think that that would be great. And if you have an aspiration to even go more deeply into the practice, that would be fantastic too. So the 3 principles of the path, which are said to be along with Buddhist refuge, which are said to be the crucial realizations, and they don't have to be profound realizations, just some kind of feeling for these aspects of the Buddhist teaching. The first is the determination to be free, so-called renunciation. We use that word a lot, this determination to be free from suffering. And it's really about recognizing what it means to be a human being with a mind and a body that we have virtually no control over, and the kind of suffering and dissatisfaction that is inevitable unless we do the practices to be free. And that's implied in this notion of renunciation, is that yes, we are in a state of unsatisfactoriness with the present kind of mind and body that we have, but it is possible to be free. That's the Buddha's claim, is that we have Buddha nature, we have this seed of inner perfection, and it just needs to be nurtured. It needs to be watered, and it needs the right kind of fertilizer and moisture and warmth, and then the seed can germinate. So again, this determination to be free of what? Free of suffering, free of dissatisfaction, free of unsatisfactoriness or complications, as Geshe says. And it really kind of boils down to having compassion for yourself, realizing that you do suffer and that you will suffer more in the future, and that that it's not necessary. The suffering doesn't have to be at all, and at least it can be diminished. So having this determination that I can be free of suffering and its causes, that's called compassion for yourself. And it is the motivation in a big way for renunciation. So it said day and night. It said teachings say that day and night, if your thoughts are that you just want to be free from samsaric suffering, it's always on your mind. Then you realize renunciation. You realize this determination to be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. But for us, just having some intellectual understanding is enough to get us to gain access to the tantric path. And the second one is bodhicitta, the awakening mind. And there are many ways to develop it. There's the 6 cause and effect, the exchanging self and others, and then sometimes these two practices are brought together. But it's not natural to think that I want to get enlightened. I want to develop all of my qualities and eliminate all my faults for others. That goes against our selfish, self-centered nature to want to get enlightened for others. And yet, this is the attitude that we need to practice at the level of the Mahayana, and also to be a qualified practitioner of Tantra. The ideal tantric practitioner is someone who cannot, they enter the tantric vehicle because they find the suffering of others unbearable. And they're looking for the quickest way to get enlightened. They don't want to wait 16 countless eons. They want to get it done in 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days. They want to get it, but with the right motivation, which is to help others. And so, one way to quickly kind of get it in the ballpark of bodhicitta is to remember that we all equally want to be happy and don't want to suffer. So every living being, even the vast number of beings that we don't even know, forget about the ones that we do know, which is such a small number, but the ones that we don't know, all the animals and all the beings in the realms that we can't see are sentient beings, and they have feelings, and they want to have pleasant feelings, they want to be happy, and they don't want to suffer. So we're all exactly alike in that very sort of essential way of looking at our lives and what we want. We want to be happy, we don't want to suffer. And the Dalai Lama says that when he tries to develop this attitude, he says, okay, I'm one and others are countless, and we all equally want to be happy and don't want to suffer. Like, whose happiness is more important? Happiness of one or the happiness of others? Other seems singular when we say it, but it's actually countless beings. And so our others' happiness is at least equal to ours, at least as important as ours. And then we reflect on the faults of self-centeredness, self-cherishing, egocentricity, how all of the suffering from the beginning of beginningless samsaric lifetimes until now is the source of one mistake, this misperception of who we are and who others are. We call that ignorance. And the wisdom of emptiness eradicates ignorance. But we cling to this false sense of I, and it creates all kinds of problems for us. The faults of self-cherishing. There's never any freedom as long as we're consumed by that self-centered mind. Me, I, I'm the most important one. And then cherishing others is the source of all happiness. So the opposite, the exact opposite of self-cherishing is cherishing others. There would be the positive karma that creates happiness is an automatic when we cherish others, because we wouldn't kill, would we? We'd save lives. We wouldn't steal. We'd probably practice generosity. We wouldn't commit adultery. We'd, behave in ways that are appropriate if we're in a relationship. We wouldn't lie. We'd tell the truth. We wouldn't slander. We'd speak well of others, and so on. So all of the, cherishing others is said to be the cause of all happiness. For happiness, cherish others. For suffering, cherish yourself. Self-cherishing selfishness. And so then the next step is to exchange self-cherishing, which we don't want, because we don't want the suffering that goes with it. Even though it looks like a friend, it's not. For cherishing others. And then we imagine that everything we do is for others. And then the next step would be this determination to liberate all living beings, wherever they are. We can imagine all sentient beings in human form that surround us, but we can imagine, that we have liberated them all and led them to perfect enlightenment. And think, I am personally responsible. This is an attitude that we want to develop. I'm personally responsible for the happiness of universal living beings who are countless in number, and guiding them from confusion and suffering to perfect happiness and enlightenment. It is my job alone. That's the heroic attitude of a bodhisattva. These spiritual warriors that dedicate their lives to helping others find their own truth, helping others find and create the causes for happiness and enlightenment. And then bodhicitta is sort of the next step beyond that, where we realize we don't have, as much as we'd like to have, our family and our friends and our community and all the living beings in samsara that we don't even know about. Wouldn't it be nice? We would like to be able to guide them from suffering to supreme happiness, but we don't have the tools. We haven't done the work ourselves. And so we need to train our mind 24/7 to to set our goal, to sort of play the biggest game possible, which is supreme happiness. Happiness beyond our dreams. Happiness that we can't even imagine. We want to set our goals for that kind of happiness in order to be able to help others. I must become enlightened. I must purify my mind, develop my positive qualities, Practice renunciation, bodhicitta, and emptiness. Practice all the levels of sutra and tantra, both the generation and completion stages, in order to achieve supreme enlightenment, solely in order to be able to help guide others. So that's bodhicitta. That's the heart of the Mahayana, and crucial to have in your mind as a motivation for tantric practice. And then the last of the three principles is the realization of emptiness. Is just seeing things as they are. You know, Lama Yeshe used to say, it's just, if we could strip away our projections, which we think, and our projections really are pretty much our world. We believe in them. We project, see, hear, taste, smell, touch, whatever sensory experience we're having. It seems so real. It seems like our interpretation, our projection is the way it is, and we believe that. And Lama says, if we can strip away our projections, then what's left is reality. And in that reality, there's spaciousness, there's freedom, there's limitless love and compassion and power and skillful means, where we can get ourself out of the way, our egocentric self, confusion, misapprehension of reality. When we can strip that away, what's left is amazing. We call that the emptiness of these projections, the emptiness of self-existence, the emptiness of these hallucinations that we project on everything. So that's in that moment of just seeing how we project onto reality a certain interpretation, and then it's not a bad thing to project, but we believe in our projections, and then we act out of our belief in our projections. And that's not even bad, but it just causes suffering. And that's what we want to be free of. So wisdom, the cause of all of the suffering in samsara, is this misapprehension, this active. It's not like we don't. It's not like we need to learn some formula. It's like we are adding something to reality that's distorting it and causing us to suffer. And we need to be able to strip that away and see things as they are, and then it's possible to cut the very tap root of samsaric suffering. You know, how amazing. This is what the Buddha saw under the Bodhi tree. He saw the truth of reality. He saw that things were empty. And it gave him access to complete freedom, nirvana, and supreme enlightenment. So this is like these three principles are like, so just a taste is enough. And the practices in Tantra, the tantric practices only enhance. In fact, many people who've done long tantric retreats that have said that what they got out of it was a deeper and deeper realization of these three principles of the path. A stronger and stronger faith and realization of these three principles. So it's not like we get in the doorway with these. We continue to develop these realizations through the tantric practices. So we'll do the refuge and bodhicitta prayer that's in this little book, okay? Vajrasattva. And remember the motivation for, when we do refuge and bodhicitta, remember the key thing is to bring to mind three things, right? First one is a dread or a fear of living life with a mind that's dominated by self-centeredness. It just, from a karmic perspective, we are doomed to suffer if we don't challenge our self-centered way of seeing the world. So we have to have a healthy dread or fear that motivates us to find a solution. And so we look and when we meet the Buddhas and the teachings and the spiritual community, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and we develop gradually over time. It doesn't happen immediately. It really is a function of how strong our practice is, but we develop faith that these teachings and the Buddhas and the spiritual community really are a valid source of refuge. We have faith that they can help us, that they can truly give us the kinds of direction we're looking for to stop our unhappiness, our depression, our stress, our misery, our whatever, and not just stop that, because that's not good enough. We want bliss, we want freedom, we want joy, we want supreme enlightenment. And so we have, this, we develop gradually some faith that the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha can lead us all the way to supreme enlightenment. At least help us stop our suffering, at least that much. But to find nirvana, freedom from suffering, amazing. To become enlightened and develop all the qualities of enlightened being, amazing. So, dread or fear of this confidence or faith, and then compassion for ourselves and others. That's the motivation for taking refuge. And it's also, the healthy motivation to do this Vajrasattva practice that we're going to do together now. Okay? So we're going to do, probably do the mantra. I don't know how many people have memorized the long mantra. I'll write the short mantra on the board. I'll go over the visualizations when we get there. All right, so on page 9 it says, my glasses. Oops. I forever take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I take refuge in all the three vehicles, in the dhakas and dakinis of secret mantra yoga, in the heroes and heroines, the gods and goddesses, and the bodhisattvas of the 10 bhumis. But most of all, I take refuge in my holy Guru forever. I forever take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. I take refuge in all the three vehicles, in the dhakas and dakinis of secret mantra yoga, in the heroes and heroines, the gods and goddesses, and the bodhisattvas of the 10 bhumis. But most of all, I take refuge in my holy Guru forever. I forever take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I take refuge in all three vehicles, in the dhakas and dakinis of secret mantra yoga, and the heroes and heroines, the gods and goddesses, and the bodhisattvas of the 10 bhumis. But most of all, I take refuge in my holy Guru forever. Now, we're going to talk about each of the 4 opponent powers, because it's real important, not only for what we're doing now, but what we're going to do later. So the first one is to recall the definition of negative karma: any action that results in suffering, usually an action motivated by ignorance, attachment, or aversion. So any action that results in suffering creates negative karma. Now, we're talking more long-term suffering because, for example, somebody who's like, let's say, extreme example would be like a rapist or somebody like that. You might say, well, they seem to be enjoying themselves in the moment, but the long-term suffering of that action is huge. It's terrible. If they get, not just in this life, but in all kinds of future lifetimes, it's big-time suffering. So we're looking at, not short-term pleasure, but the long-term consequences of an action. That if it brings suffering, by definition, it was negative. It was negative, and it came as a result of negative karma. So any action of our body, speech, and mind that we've done, and we recall the 10 non-virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind. Just briefly, the 3 of body are killing and stealing and adultery, which is, having sex with someone else's partner, lying, slander, harsh and frivolous talk are the 4 of speech, and greed and hatred and ignorance are the 3 principal ones of mind, but then pride and jealousy, you could throw those in there as well. So we've got body, speech, and mind, and all the negative actions that we've done that would qualify as negativities of body, speech, and mind. We want to try to remember specific examples of when we've done those things, but also realize that we've done it all in past lifetimes. We have countless eons of negative karma from killing, countless eons of negative karma from stealing and adultery and lying and slander and so on. And we want to not only purify the stuff that we've done in this life, but all our past lifetimes as well. The karmic residue, we want to purify all of that. Okay? For the next page, let's read this together. Almost every action I do, 24 hours a day, is motivated by worldly concern, attachment to the comfort of this life. It is like this from birth to death in this life, and has been like that from beginningless rebirths. Nearly every action I've ever created has been non-virtuous, the cause of suffering. Not only that, but continuously I've also been breaking my pratimoksha, bodhisattva, and tantric vows. Worst of all, I've created the heaviest of negative karmas in relations to my virtuous friends, getting angry at them, generating wrong views, having non-devotional thoughts toward them, harming their holy body, and disobeying their advice. Having these negative imprints on my mental continuum is unbearable. It's as if I'd swallowed a lethal poison. I must practice the antidote right away and purify all this negative karma immediately without a second's delay. In this way, generate a strong feeling of urgency and regret. Now, remembering impermanence and death. We'll read this together. Many people my age or younger have died. It's a miracle that I'm still alive and have this incredible opportunity to purify my negative karma. Death is certain, but its time is most uncertain. If I were to die right now, I would definitely be born in the lower realms. Because I could not practice Dharma there, I would remain in the lower realms for countless eons. Therefore, how unbelievably fortunate I am to be able to purify my negative karma right now without even a second's delay by practicing the Vajrasattva meditation recitation. So the power of dependence, this has to do with generating bodhicitta. But I'm not practicing this Vajrasattva purification for myself alone. The purpose of my life is to release all hell beings, pretas, animals, humans, asuras, and intermediate state beings from all their suffering and its causes and lead them to unsurpassed enlightenment. In order to do this, I must first reach enlightenment myself. Therefore, I must purify all my negative karmas immediately, practicing the Vajrasattva meditation recitation. Now, I'm going to read the visualization, and you do the best you can to try to, in your mind's eye, above the crown of your head, see Vajrasattva, father and mother, because we're doing the visualization of the father and mother above the crown of your head. completely made of light. And you want to feel, and again, this takes faith, it takes a good imagination, your faith in your teacher, and the Dalai Lama and people that you have respect for, that these practices really do make a difference. So above the crown of my head, seated upon a lotus and a moon seat, are Vajrasattva, father and mother. Their bodies are white, each one has one face and two arms. He holds a dorji and a bell, she a curved knife and a skull cup. They are embracing each other. The father is adorned with the 6 mudras and the mother with 5. He sits in the Vajra posture, she in the lotus. Vajrasattva is my root guru, the mind of all the Buddhas, the Dharmakaya, who out of his unbearable compassion, who embraces me and all other sentient beings, appears in this form to purify me and all others. In this way, your mind is transformed into Guru devotion, the root of all blessings and realizations of the path to enlightenment. So now we have above the crown of your head, on a lotus and a moon seat, a Vajrasattva father and mother, and he's holding a Vajra and a bell. He's got his arms around her, and she's holding a curved knife and a skull cup. Each of these things has profound symbolic meaning. On the moon disk at Vajrasattva's heart, so you imagine that, and this is all above your head, in the center of the moon disk stands a hum, H-U-M, which is the seed syllable of the mind, encircled by the garland of the 100-syllable mantra. A powerful stream of white nectar flows from the hum and the mantra garland, and it flows down through Vajrasattva's, from the hum and the mantra, as you said, through Vajrasattva's body, through the joined organs of the father and mother, then through our crown, into our crown, and I'm cleansed of all sickness, spirit harm, negative karma, and obscurations. And then we'll do the mantra. Now there's 3 different visualizations, and we'll do, I'm going to put the short mantra up on the board, but if you know the long mantra, how many people know the long mantra? How many of you have memorized it? Good. Well, we'll I think I'm going to just let people do it silently, because some people know it, some people don't know it, and it might be a distraction to the people who don't know it. But the short mantra is Om Vajra Sattva Hum. Okay. Now, if you can't, if you know the long one, great. If you want to read it, that's fine. But we'll do the long one. We'll do it 21 times. We'll change visualizations. It'll take a few minutes. It takes about 8 minutes, 8 or 10 minutes to do it if you do it quickly. To do 21 of the long one. So maybe not that long, but it doesn't take long. So the first visualization is, if you do an Om Vajrasattva Hum, is to see the light and nectar coming from Vajrasattva father and mother, from the hum and the mantra, entering the crown of your head and purifying all the negative karma of body. So that's the principal things were killing and stealing and adultery, not only in this life, but in all past lifetimes. And that light and nectar completely purifies your body of any illness, any negative karma, and it goes through the lower doors of your body and disappears into the space below. So you have a lot to keep in keep in mind as you do the mantra silently. Now when you do mantra recitation, You do it. You don't do it out loud. You do it out loud, but nobody's supposed to be able to hear you. It's just you. But like for me, it would be, I'd be going, or the long one, you want to, so I have a microphone there, but you want to do it so the person next to you won't hear you, but you can hear yourself enunciating every syllable. And so as you do it, imagine you're purifying all your negative karma. Vajrasattva is who's inseparable from your guru, and all the minds of the Buddha is flushing you with this light and nectar, purifying your negative karma of body. So we'll do this for a few minutes, and then we'll switch the visualization. Om Bhadrusapha Samaya Manapalaya Bhadrusapha Dina Patita Adiro Me Bhava Sutukayo Me Bhava Supogayo Me Bhava Anarate Me Bhava Salasini Me Prayacha Kamasuchumi Chidam Sriyam Kuraham Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Tathagata Vadava Mimbuta Vadabhava Mahasamaya Sabha Ahum Pe. Now you want to feel that your body has been purified. You want to actually have some feeling that you've let go of the negative karma of your body and any diseases or illness, anything that has to do with your body, completely purified. And now we visualize the purification of speech. And as we do the next mantra 21 times, the light and nectar, again coming from Vajrasattva's heart, down through the joined organs of Vajrasattva father and mother, entering the crown of our head, and then this time, like filling a glass from the bottom up. Like if the glass was dirty, and you would put in clear nectar, and it would the dirt would float up to the top and then float over the edges of the glass, right? Well, we imagine that the dirt is our negative karma of speech. Lying, slander, harsh and frivolous speech are the principal delusions that we're focusing on, both in this life and all our former lifetimes. And as we say the mantra, all this negativity pours out of us, and we're purifying all this negative karma of speech. And it comes out like our eye sockets and our ears and our mouth and our nose, and and leaves us and disappears completely into the space of emptiness. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manapalaya Vajrasattva Dino Patida Dino Mebama Sukayo Mebama Supakayo Mebama Anarate Mebama Samasiri Mepayaja Jumi Chinam Sriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Tathagata Vajra Mami Mucha Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sapa Ahum Pe. And I feel like all your negative karmas from this and countless previous eons, the negative karmas of speech are completely purified. And you want to feel like you've purified your speech. Have some faith that this practice actually has worked to help you let go of this negative karma of speech. And now we're going to purify the mind. And this time, once again, light and nectar from Vajrasattva, father and mother, from the hum and the 100-syllable mantra around the edge of this moon disk. And this light and nectar is coming down through the father and mother, entering the crown of our head. And as soon as it enters our body, we can imagine the inside of our body is like dark with ignorance, the ignorance of self-cherishing selfishness and all the problems that brings. And then as soon as that light hits our body and enters us through the crown of our head, it's like turning on a light in a dark room. The light comes in and we feel like our body is completely filled with this blissful white light. As we say the mantra again, 21 more times. Or more. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manapalaya Vajrasattva Dino Patita Dino Mebawa Satukaya Mebawa Anarate Mebawa Sawasiri Me Prayacha Kama Sucha Me Chidam Sriyam Kuruham Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawata Dagadra Vaduma Me Mucha Vadrabama Samaya Sava Ahum Pe. I'm going to add one more visualization to this. And this is, we visualize, we purified, and again, you want to feel that you're pure, okay? You purified your mind, particularly greed, hatred, ignorance, pride, and jealousy. And not only the stuff that you've done in this lifetime motivated by those negative mind states, but in countless previous lifetimes. You want to feel that you've let go of that negativity. And then the last visualization is where we do all three visualizations at the same time. And this is to let go of the subtle obscurations to omniscience, to us becoming a Buddha. So you imagine that the light and nectar is coming in, and it's not only cleansing your body from top to bottom, but it's cleansing your speech from bottom to up. And then your mind is, the inside of you is completely lit up and with blissful white light as it eliminates the ignorance. So this is a profound visualization. It's important to learn this visualization. It doesn't add much to the practice in terms of time, but it's an important visualization to do. So do the best you can. Again, light and nectar coming from the heart of Vajrasattva, father and mother, entering the crown of her head. You've got the sort of the downward cleansing, the upward cleansing, and the instantaneous cleansing. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manapalaya Vajrasattva Dino Patita Dhirame Bhava Stutukaya Me Bhava Supokaya Me Bhava Anaruta Me Bhava Sawa Siddhi Me Prayacha Sawa Kama Sucha Me Chiram Sriyam Kuruham Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gadra Vajra Mami Mutsa Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Safa Ahum Pe. And you want to feel like that the subtle obscurations of your body, speech, and mind that prevent you from achieving omniscience, the omniscience of a Buddha, have been completely purified. And that your body, speech, and mind has been completely purified by using your mind, creating Vajrasattva. You've been able to purify your own mind with the help of Guru Vajrasattva. So now on page 16, generating faith in having been purified. From the crown of my head, Guru Vajrasattva says, son of the race, your negativities, obscurations, and broken and damaged pledges have been completely purified. Generate strong faith that they have been completely purified, just as Guru Vajrasattva has said. Before Guru Vajrasattva, I vow never again to commit those negative actions from which I can easily abstain, and not to commit for a day, an hour, or at least a few seconds those negative actions from which I find it difficult to abstain. Guru Vajrasattva is extremely pleased with your pledge. Vajrasattva, father and mother, melt into light and dissolve into you. Your body, speech, and mind become inseparably one from Guru Vajrasattva's holy body, speech, and mind. So you want to imagine that above your head, that Vajrasattva, father and mother, melt into light and come through the crown of your head, and your body, speech, and mind as an ordinary being, but not as an ordinary being anymore, as an extraordinary being, are completely pure. And inseparably one from Guru Vajrasattva's holy body, speech, and mind. And now we'll read the dedication. In emptiness there is no I, creator of negative karma. There is no action of creating negative karma. There is no negative karma created. Place your mind in that emptiness for a little while. In this way, look at all phenomena as empty. They do not exist from their own side. With this awareness of emptiness, dedicate the merits. Due to all the merits of the 3 times collected by me, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and all other sentient beings, which appear to be real, but which are empty, may I, which appears to be real but is empty, achieve Guru Buddha's auspicious enlightenment, which does appear to be real but is empty, and lead all sentient beings who appear to be real but are totally empty, that enlightenment which appears to be real but is empty, by myself alone, which appears to be real but is also totally empty, non-existent from there. May the precious bodhicitta, the source of all happiness and success for myself and all other sentient beings, be generated within my own mind and in the minds of all sentient beings without even a second's delay. And may that which has been generated be increased. May I and all other sentient beings have Lama Sankapa as our direct guru in all our lifetimes, never be separated from even a second from the pure path that is greatly praised by the conqueror Buddhas, and actualize the complete path, the 3 principal paths, to the 2 stages of highest yoga tantra, the root of which is Guru devotion, within our minds as quickly as possible. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantrabhadra realize things as they are, I dedicate all these virtues in the best way that I may follow after them. Whatever dedication the 3 times victorious ones gone to bliss have admired as best, in the same way I also perfectly declare all these roots of virtue so that I may perform good works. Amen. So that is, we still have one more practice to do before the party. So how many people have been here on Sundays when we do, Dorji Kadra? Not Sundays, New Year's Eve. A lot of people have been here, yeah. So this is a cool practice. I'll say this, Lama Yeshe, my guru, my teacher early on, he and Lama Zopa both were my principal teachers. And anyway, Lama Yeshe used to say, if I got cancer, this is the practice I'd do, okay? And so this is a great practice, and there's a visualization that goes along with it, and I'll explain it, and then we'll read through it really briefly in just a second. But the visualization you want to do is, right outside now is a big fire pit, okay? There's a fire going. And what we want, and it used to be Dorji Kadro is this tantric practitioner, this tantric deity who is, it sounds weird, but Dorji Kadro loves our negativities. It only blisses him out. He wants, we want to think of Dorji Kadro as this deity that manifests in the fire, okay? And his mouth is wide open. The fire pit out there is Dorji Kadro's mouth, and we're going to offer him the negativities of our body, speech, and mind. And so this is a good time to clean slate. If you have something that's weighing on your heart, or you have an illness or something that, that bothers you, or anything that you can remember, anything that has a negative charge, it's a great practice to do. So what you can imagine, and I'll go through the visualization when we read through the text, but basically there's a palm, P-A-M, at your heart, and all the negativities of your body, speech, and mind absorb into the palm, okay? And then I think at the navel there's a ram, which is like a triangle-shaped fire. They call it a fire mandala, but you can just think of it as a fire at your navel. And then below your feet are like, they call, I think it's yams, but it's a wind mandala. It's like a fan. And this energy from the wind mandala is coming up our legs, fanning the fire, and all of this is happening inside the Kundalini system, the chakras and central channel, but we don't have to talk about that. But that heat and energy from the fire is chasing this palm, which symbolizes our negativities, out through the door of our nose, and it's going into the black sesame seeds in the form of a giant, mean-looking scorpion, and the sesame seeds are now symbolizing the negativity that we're trying to let go of, and so we offer it to the fire. For example, all the negativity, and I'll mention some things, but people can mention some things too. But I'll go through. I'll say, okay, let's offer all the negative karma from killing and this and all our former lifetimes, and we'll do. And the mantra, and there's a little prayer that goes at the end of it that I don't ever say, but I'm going to probably try to say it tonight. But the mantra is Om Vajradaka Kaka Kahi Kahi Sawa Papam Dahana Bakmi Kuru Soha. Om Vajradaka Kaka Kahi Kahi Sawa Papam Dahana Bakmi Kuru Soha. And you don't have to do it that fast, but you want to, the important thing is to visualize the palm at your heart and think, okay, this is all the negative karma from stealing, okay, and this in all our former lifetimes. And try to remember specific times you took what wasn't freely offered. And then you might, and then the wind blows, the fire mandala, the heat comes up, driving the palm out your nose and into the sesame seeds, and it goes from your nose is a black scorpion that goes into the sesame seeds. And you and I'll say the mantra, but if you memorize it, that's great. And you give it to the fire, and little seeds go pop, 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 like popcorn. And you think you're letting go of that negative karma, all the negative karma of sexual misconduct in this and all your in former lifetimes that are there's a huge obstruction to us having good relationships in this life. We want to let that go. And the light, drives that palm, black sesame, scorpion into the sesame seeds. We offer it to the fire like that. Now there's another little prayer at the end. You're supposed to say it. It's like you say Om Vandra Om. Well, they go Om Vandra Daka Kaka Kai Kai Sawa Papan Dahana Bakmi Kuru Sowa, and then you're supposed to say all negativities and obscurations that I've created, and all pledges that I've broken since beginningless samsaric lifetimes, Shinten Kori Soha, are completely purified. I think we'll just say that at the last one. We'll just do the mantra for the most of them for the time being. So, now, theoretically, to do this practice, you should have had a what's called a transmission. Means that somebody should have read through the whole practice with you, and so that you have a basic understanding of it. But I think the basic understanding I've already given you. So we don't have to, I'm going to say we're not going to do that. The visualization, though, is real strange because they talk about Vajradhaka. You know, he's wrathful, he's real fierce looking. You can see the statue out there, and he's holding a Vajra and bell, and his legs are crossed, and his mouth's wide open, right? And his mouth is the wisdom fire, and he's got a necklace of 50 bleeding heads and a scanty tiger skin loincloth. Does that, looks
nice look.
Yeah, it's a nice look. Obviously, we're talking symbolic meaning here, so I just don't want anybody to go out here and think we're devil worshippers, and But the point of this is to he just think that Dorji Kadra just loves, is completely blissed out. Every time you offer him your negativities, he's completely blissed by it. He loves taking your negativities. It doesn't affect him adversely at all. He's a Buddha. He's an enlightened being. So you want to try to visualize this wisdom fire as Dorji Kadra. And we'll do this and then until we run out of time, which is not too long from now. And 8:30 is when the party begins. So Robbie, could you hand these out? And we'll go outside. You need to get your shoes on. And we'll go out inside and do maybe half an hour. Oh, before I do this, let me tell you one quick practice you can do, which I think is really helpful. For example, one of our members, and one of you may have cancer, I don't know, or some kind of serious illness, or have a family member that's suffering from something that's quite, that's really causing a lot of angst for you and your family. So this is a way you can use Dorji Kadra to not only to take your problems on, your problems of body, speech, and mind. And I'll mention those. I'll mention the 10 non-virtuous actions. But also you want to think about like all the people in the world that are starving. Let's take their negative karma into the palm. And all the people that are suffering from cancer, and take that into the palm. Or people, that are, if you're depressed or anxious about something, think about all the people in the world that have that problem right now weighing on them, and that you're taking their depression and angst and whatever it is that's troubling you into the palm, and you're giving it Dorji Kadra. You're taking on the suffering of the world. Kind of like Jesus on the cross. I take on the suffering of the world, I give you everlasting happiness. It's kind of like that. You're taking on the suffering of all sentient beings so that they have happiness, and we're offering it to Dorji Kadra. So here's what Lama Zopa says about experiencing illness and death with bodhicitta. The very heart of Dharma practice, the best of all, the ultimate thought transformation, the supreme psychology is to experience your problems on behalf of others. Never heard him say that before. The supreme psychology, the ultimate thought transformation is to experience your problems on behalf of others. Perhaps you have AIDS or cancer. Maybe you're having problems in your relationship or suffering from depression. Possibly you're dying. Whatever trouble you're experiencing, think, I'm experiencing this problem on behalf of all sentient beings. Bring them happiness. I'm taking on AIDS or cancer, relationship problems, depression, whatever. I'm taking it into your palm at your heart. Okay, and all those that are suffering from these maladies at that moment, and for all those who have the karma to get it, I take it upon myself. I'm experiencing this disease on behalf of all sentient beings who have it or will get it. No matter what has happened to you, asthma, depression, business failure, being raped, you can dedicate it in the same way. So you take it on into your heart, and then you give it to Vajrasattva. You take on the suffering of everybody who's having whatever problems, people like ISIS, people, that are creating incredible negative karma by their choices. We want to take their suffering on, and during this political race that we're having, so much negativity, about both candidates, and, we got to watch our mind. Forget about driving down the highway. There's so many opportunities to for our mind to stray from virtue. We want, even though we might have strong feelings one way or the other about this whole political thing, we don't need to get angry and resentful and mean and hateful. So we want to maybe imagine all that stuff that's going on and take that into our heart and offer that to Dorji Kadra. We can still have opinions and vote the way we want to, but we don't have to have a heavy negative mind about it. Throughout the day, as soon as the thought, I have AIDS arises, immediately think, I'm experiencing this for all sentient beings. He's really talking about Tong Lin now. When you're dying, think, I'm experiencing death for the numberless sentient beings who are experiencing this. Excuse me. Boy, if we can do this practice when we're dying, it will be amazing, because we'll die with a happy mind. He says, when you're dying, think, I'm experiencing death for the numberless sentient beings who are experiencing the suffering of dying at this very moment. I take it all upon myself. May they be free from suffering of death and receive ultimate happiness right now. And try to die with this thought. But during Vajrasattva, if you have a fatal illness right now, or you know someone that does, you can imagine that you're taking on the mental anguish that not only, whatever you're experiencing, you imagine that you're taking on all the mental anguish of people that are dying into the palm at your heart, including your own anguish. And you offer that to Vajrasattva. Each time you think this way, you purify unbelievable eons of negative karma and create merit at limits as limitless as the sky. Each time you practice taking the suffering of others upon yourself, you come much closer to enlightenment, which means you come much closer to bringing all sentient beings to enlightenment. So, I invite you not only to do Dorji Kadra for your own negativities of body, speech, and mind, but then kind of branch out and think of others, that specific, situations, and imagine, taking on the obstacles of, we all know Richard Potter's dying. He's got a cancer, and a lot of people know Richard, right? I'm not sure. To say he's dying is a little premature, but Geshe-la mentioned this last week, and so think, okay, we want to take Richard's cancer into our heart, and then offer that Dorji Kadra, and then all beings with cancer, we take their cancer and the suffering that goes with it into the palm, and to the fire. Okay, you ready to go? So we'll meet outside by the wisdom